In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the easiest plant in the aquarium hobby. Seriously, if you struggle with getting plants growing, try this one. The plant I'm talking about today is the Anubias plant, and there are a lot of different varieties of this plant. Just know that most of them are green and they come in a variety of sizes from up to 18 inches all the way down to itty bitty nano ones. The most popular Anubias plant in the hobby today is different varieties of the Barteri Anubias. So you have the Anubias Barteri, which gets to about 18 inches. You have the Anubias Nano, which is a smaller, more of a mid-ground plant. And then you have Anubias Nano Petite, which is a very small, awesome plant for your nano aquariums. You also have Anubias Coffeeifolia, which is another variety of that Barteri Anubias. Those are going to be the ones that you're going to see most often and that are going to be available at most of your local fish stores or, even at some of the chain stores.
Here we have some Anubias nana in one of my tanks, and you can see here that these plants even grow these little white flowers on top that look a little bit like
Now,
tulips.
Anubias is an epiphytic. Epiphytic? Epiphyte? I'll spell it here. Type of plant, which means that it can grow in all kinds of areas where there's rocks and there's wood, and these plants will grow right onto those rocks and wood.
When you do plant this plant, you want to be careful not to bury this part called the rhizome. If you do end up burying that part, the plant is going to actually start to rot and die. It is okay though to bury the roots.
And what you do is you take your Anubias and you can either tie it onto that wood or onto those rocks, or you can even use super glue and use that to put it right onto your rocks or your wood that you want to grow on.
Anubias has a really thick leaf structure, which allows it to be in tanks with fish that like to eat some plants, and it holds up pretty well to a lot of those fish. Now, obviously, if you stick it in there with some cichlids, or some large fish, then no, it's not going to survive. But if you have things like plecos that like to eat some plants, Anubias is a great one because they usually can survive with that. A lot of times you'll see this plant in goldfish tanks as well because it is rooted onto rocks and onto wood. The goldfish oftentimes can't dig it up like they would some other types of plants. And so this might be another great option if you have a goldfish tank and you're looking for some plants that you can keep in there.
At this point in the video, do me a favor, hit that like button so this video can go out and be seen by more people.
As far as the needs for this plant, it can survive really well in low light aquariums. And if you add more light, the plant will be fine with more light as well. But you don't need a lot of light or high light to have this plant grow really well. You also don't need to add any CO2, which just makes it another advantage of this plant. And in all honesty, you don't even really need to provide a whole lot of nutrients for this plant. Typically, this plant is going to get enough nutrients from the water column just from the excess fish food that you might be feeding or from the fish poop. Usually, you won't have to go out and buy any extra fertilizers to keep this plant green and healthy.
If you're just getting started on keeping plants, or maybe even if you've been doing it for a long time, but you want to learn more about planted aquariums and how to keep them, I highly recommend the book Sunken Gardens, a step-by-step guide to planting freshwater aquariums by Karen Randall. This book is going to be loaded with great information for you. It's going to talk about lighting and CO2 and all kinds of different types of plants that you can grow in your aquarium. I'll leave a link down below where you guys can purchase this book for yourself. Anubias is not the only great plant for your aquarium. And if you're looking for some other great plants, check out my playlist right here.